Welcome back to African Podcast. I'm your host, Liz, and today we have an interesting topic. This season has been very interesting so far. If you've not been keeping up, go ahead, go back because you're missing out on a lot. But that aside, today we're talking about money, Africans and money. I love money. I know you love money, and us Africans, we do love money. But we have a special guest today to talk about this topic with because as Africans, we are afraid to have these conversations about money, right? And so I will let our guest introduce herself and then we can get into the topic for today. Go ahead.
Bonjour, Mbote, salut. My name is Christina and I've been living in the US for the past 11 years and I have a degree in business administration.
So you said business. When someone brings up business now, business has to do with money.
Oh yeah.
To run a business, you need to be able to know how to manage money. But that is not something that they tell us in our African households, in our African communities. We don't talk about money, right?
True.
So my first question is, why is money such a sensitive topic in African families? Why don't we talk about money?
I think we don't talk about money because we don't have knowledge. I believe that most of our parents who come here, they also want a better life for their children.
Yeah.
But they also are trying to survive
for
themselves. And they don't have any type of knowledge. They come and the language barrier, the low education, the lack of support, it puts them in a place where they're struggling themselves. So when they're raising us in African household, they don't really want to share the hardship with us.
Yeah.
They want us to just live at peace and not understand that it's hard out there. And then when we eventually grow up, everything just
comes at us
and we're just lost.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I like the way you put it. That's funny because I was thinking about how money is always associated with survival, right? We need money to survive. We need money to be able to move forward in life. That is very true. That is very true. I also like you pointing out the fact that African parents, they don't want to share their struggles. And that comes with the money conversation too, right? Sure. They're not going to tell you we don't have enough money because they are parents. They feel this responsibility that they have to take care of you. They have to do all these things. They brought you here so you can have a better opportunity. So why would they tell you about the negative things in their lives? But do you also feel like because in African household, there's that I am the parent and you are the child. So they don't feel like it is in your place to know what is happening with the money situation, the finances in the house?
Yes. And I do think that's what happens.
Yeah.
They don't really want to share things with us. And I think it's just our culture in general. We have our culture is surrounded about respect. Respect your elders. Listen, don't talk back. Don't give any feedback. Your opinion doesn't really matter. So we grow up in that environment and they also grew up in that environment. When eventually it's the time for them to have this conversation, it's not that they don't want to, they just don't know how
to.
It's kind of like that. And I feel like everything has to do with the culture.
Definitely.
Honestly.
Definitely. And also because a lot of oh my God. I'm so happy we're having this conversation because you're pointing out the fact that they grew up that way. They were also raised that way. And that's something that we don't think about, right? Like as African children growing up, we tend to forget that our parents were also children at one point, right? What you know is what you transfer to your next generation, to the people around you. But maybe you might be right. They might not really know how to communicate about all these things, how to talk about the money. And for us, we just think, oh, they don't talk about it. Maybe they might be comfortable talking about it. They might be uncomfortable talking about it because they don't know how to come to you and say, hey, we have a problem. Because the dynamic of the family is not that way. We don't talk about feelings. We don't talk about money.
True.
But how did you learn about money growing up? So you had mentioned to me when we had a brief conversation, you said that for you growing up, they didn't teach you that you need to be responsible for money. They taught you that you need money to be able to pay bills. You need money to be able to do this, but they didn't really teach you how to do
How to do things.
like how to manage money and things like that.
I believe that honestly, no one really teaches you about money, how to manage it. Not because they don't want to, sometimes they just don't know how to.
Yeah.
And I feel like everything starts with curiosity. Yourself, when you kind of are also in a different environment,
Yeah.
where you meet different people who talk about the subject, people who are worried about money, who want to invest. And I feel like everything started when I kind of started surrounding myself with people who wanted to
Do
that
things
was
that way. Yeah.
things that way.
Yeah.
So I started asking myself, okay, what is an index type of account? What is high yield? What is okay? And I started doing my own research, but I feel like growing up in an African household, you don't really get that information. Not because they don't want to teach you, they don't know themselves.
Yeah.
They're just, and even the people who do know, they don't share this knowledge. And I feel like in African community in general, Congolese, there are people who know things, but they just want you to struggle. Okay, you came to America, you need to struggle so you can understand how life is in America. But they don't really tell you there's a way you don't have to deal with this. You can do it this way. And I think that's what it is.
I actually agree with you on a couple of things that you said, but I'll touch on the Congolese community one because I spent some time around Nigerians, right? For example, they're so successful in everything they do, anywhere, any part of the world that they're in, right? They find a way to, as a community, succeed. They share tips with each other. They share things. They might not have the greatest reputation, but one thing that they will always do is carry their people along. And that's something that we felt as Congolese people in the Congolese community. When one person sees an opportunity, they're not going to share that opportunity with others because they want to be the one that know the information. They want to be the one that is everybody goes to for something. They want to be the important one and not really like, oh, let me make sure that this person doesn't have to experience that. You made a great point when you said that people want you to struggle the same way they struggled, or they want you to understand the struggle. And I feel like that's kind of the mindset that I've seen with some African parents, where they're like, we struggle this way for you to be able to get this. I want you to struggle to be able to learn how to like to deal with money. You have to work so hard to be able to earn your money. I see that happening a lot. And also, I had a conversation with a friend, right? Like when you said, put yourself in the right places, put yourself in the right in the right environment. I've always had access, like I've always worked really hard, right? And I've had access to money because I was working really hard. I was trying to do small investments and stuff. But did I know how to manage that money? No. But I was also not around people that I knew how to do that. And so I have friends in my life that are like, okay, I know this is the type of friend this person is and whatever. And also for me growing up in an African household, we were not talking about money. We were not freely, you can't talk about if you're struggling with money, you can't just have that conversation. And I have a friend that I feel comfortable talking about things like that with, right? And that friend actually helped me figure out, okay, this is what you need to do. We sat down and he's like, oh, I'm going to do a saving challenge.
He put you on.
He put me on, like he put me on. I'm gonna save, and I'm like, oh, I'll do the same too. I'll save my money, and like I now I know where to put my money. I know about high yield savings account, doing all these things like investment. I went and sat down. Me, I don't like math. I went and sat down, and I'm learning like finance. I'm taking a finance class, and one of the first things the finance class said was, in your 20s, you need to have already paid off your student loans.
Wow.
In your 30s, you need to start planning your long-term goals, like, kids and all those things. By the time you hit your 30s, and me over here hitting my 30s, I'm like, I'm in the 20s era, like I'm in the 20s era. So looking back, for me, like, this is just my advice to any African out there. If you're in your 20s, now is the time. And for you, you are doing it right. You're already doing this, in your 20s era. So you are on the right path with what you're doing. But anyways, we'll move on to the next question, right? I went on a rumble right there. How does financial responsibility, like towards your family, affect like African youth? when we all work, families have expectations. When you graduate from school, parents have expectations. So now you have all these expectations. How does that affect the way you end up growing up and taking care of self and planning your own future?
I would say that puts you in a survival mode. You're very afraid to spend on yourself. You develop this habit of, I can't do stuff for myself, I have to help. And I think it affects also the way you move with your life, the decision you take. Do I stay home? Do I leave? Do I go far? Do I chase my dream? Do I stay home and help? And I feel like growing up here, when our parents bring us, they always talk about, we want you to succeed so you can help us. And they don't put themselves in a position where you have to succeed. This is still your life. You're currently living your life. What are your goals? And they end up pouring so much on their kids that they just have all of these expectations, a lot of your decisions, and it makes it hard for you to grow. And they don't teach you how to just explore, expand, try, because they're so focused on being in the comfort zone. So later on, you're also like, let me stay where I am. I'm a little bit comfortable here. This job is paying me okay. I'm able to pay my bills because that's the life you experience.
Yeah.
And they don't really teach you how to try something else, try something new. I've never heard of this type of investment. Let me go do this, And that's why you even see many people, they stuck in careers in African household where it was more of a stability. Their parents motivated them to get that nursing degree because we know that you're going to do better. It's very hard to see, well, even an African household where they support things like entertainment, music, or art, because it's not that they don't think that you can succeed. They just don't know how they can help you succeed there.
Yeah.
So,
and also, like, there's no money that comes with it. So they won't be able to benefit from it if you become a musician compared to if you become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. You can make money there and then they benefit from it.
And I feel like all of this comes from parents. When they reach a certain age, they want to be parents as well.
You're very right. You're very right on how, like, they play that whole savior card a lot. Like, there's times where I've told my parents, I said, when Jesus died for our sins, he died for our sins. Not once did he come back and remind us, I died for your sins, so you have to behave a certain way. And I use that because they're very religious. So
wow, that's a good example.
But you did mention a lot, and I feel like you sharing that, it was touching me.
Oh my
I was like, oh my God. Because, it is something that we experience, especially as being women in African household, right? Men or boys, like, they don't have similar expectation. There's a little bit of double standard there.
Oh, yes.
They can leave and do whatever they want to do, but the expectation for women is a little bit different. They want you to care, like, clean the house, take care of the house, be the mommy of the house, like the Nigerians call it small mommy. Because like, when they raise you that way and then they give you those, like, the guilt, oh, if you leave then we will be nothing, but we did this for you so you'll be able to look out for us. So now you're living with that guilt. You can't leave and go follow your dreams. You can't leave and go get a job outside of where they are because you feel like you're leaving them behind, and it's your responsibility to make sure that they are good because you are successful. You are doing this for yourself. It happens a lot in our African communities, and especially in the Congolese community. That happens a lot. But my next question is, what money conversations do you think we need to start having in our African households, in our communities, and families?
I feel like we need to learn how to separate the wants and the needs. And if you know that early on, it helps you save money. Just learning that first.
Yeah.
Then learning credit. Because I feel as if someone had this conversation with me my freshman year of high school, I would not spend all that credit card money on my. And having those early on conversation on how money works in America, because everything revolves around credit. You need that to do literally everything. Whether, buying a car, house, investment, everything. It just that. And then other than that, I feel as if people need to talk about high yield accounts. Like, you don't just want to put your money in a saving account. Is it growing while you saving that money? And also the other thing they need to teach us is that not to just be okay with having one job. That's one thing I've been learning recently. Oh my. I also attended this conference and a guy, I think he was a Nigerian guy, and he said, the sooner you understand how money moves in America, the better your life will be. Because you come with the concept, even our parents, they teach us, oh, just become a nurse, you should be okay. But they don't teach you that you can become a nurse. You can be an entrepreneur while you're doing that. You can invest. You can do so many things. And they just teach you to stay at one thing. But in life, you can't just be one thing. You can be multiple things, you know. So just knowing that you cannot survive with one income, you have to be able to make money on the side, you know. And I feel like eventually as you learn those things, then you can kind of now learn finance, like you taking a finance class, learning how to spreadsheet your expenses, learning where your money is going is very important because you're just swiping. You don't know where your money goes most of the time. Investment is something that I feel like later on you actually learn about as you become more comfortable with what you into, what you like. Then you can learn about where exactly you want to invest your money.
That's good advice. That's really good advice. And I agree with you with the credit building, right? When I was in high school, my white friends, I will say this straight up, my white friends, their parents had them on credit cards. Yeah, they gave them a credit card and said you can only buy gas. And for me, I was like, how could you do that? Like, how? But because it was helping them build credit in high school, when they put them on their credit card, all the expenses, everything that they do was setting them up. And I could never have imagined myself sitting there saying, why would a grown person give a child in high school a credit card? I didn't like that. But apparently having debt in America is a good thing. I don't like debt. I still don't like it, but there's some type of debt that you need to have because it helps you, and especially what you said, everything you need to do, you need to have credit. And building credit, if there's family members that have good credit, that have like they're more successful, you can add your siblings to your credit. You can add it to your credit cards. You help them build credit. I started having this conversation with my younger siblings. I'm going to add you to my credit card. You're not going to get a copy of it because I don't know. I can't control what they do, but I can control what I do and how I manage money. If I can work on building my own credit, making sure that it's good, then I can help them start that credit line, right? When they get a certain age, having those conversations, you need to be able to feel comfortable having the conversation of, hey, this is what you need to do. This is the age where you get a credit card, but how are you going to manage it? I'll make a deal with you. You spend on gas, I will pay you every month, but you have your own credit card in your name that is helping you build your credit.
I like that.
Those are the things that I started having, like, conversation I started having because at my age, I'm learning all of these things. But imagine if I learned these things younger, where I could have been in life. And it's something that I don't see in our African communities. In our Congolese communities, there's a lot of kids that are just running here. I see some of them posting videos of money on Instagram. And I'm like, that money could have been making you more money in a high yield savings account, right? Yeah. So I see that a lot. And that is really good advice that you're giving people. Like, start having conversations early. Is there anything that you would like to share with people about the money conversation? Let's say if someone had this conversation with you early on, would he have benefited you?
Yes, it would have because for me, I'm a Bank of American girl and I just wasted my saving money just sitting there. I wish someone spoke to me sooner about it's okay to spend that money that you have in your saving. Spend it to make money. Money is not supposed to just stay at one place. It's supposed to move. You spend it, you make it back. Just have a way knowing where exactly you're spending it to and how you're going to make it back. I honestly feel like just knowing what you need and what you want are not the same. It can just already help you save money. Also learning about, recently I was speaking to someone And they say, always make sure about the package that you're receiving at the job, your 401k. Don't waste your time in a place where they're not giving you good retirement money.
Yes.
You need. I wasted 2-3 years of my life working at a company where that 401k was not that good, or maybe they were not giving it, or maybe they were not doing those type of places, or I mean accounts where you can save money, or they can put money for you. And just knowing, read those packages at jobs when before you sign those contracts, read.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when you're younger, you're excited about the job that you just signed. Like you ready to start. You ready to go day one so you can make money. And these companies know that. These companies will be able to tell who knows their stuff, who knows how to, like, okay, let me pay attention to this. They will watch you sign it, knowing that they're not going to give you anything because they keep it for themselves.
True.
They will keep it. So if you have the opportunity to read, I'm so glad you mentioned the 4K thing, because my friends and I, for me, like, I told you, I hate math, I hate numbers. But my brother, like, I have two siblings that are in finance, right? So I would call them and say, hey, I need you to read this. And then they would tell me, okay, yeah, read this, but select this, select that. So you always helped, and they're younger than me. I know, in the African household, we're like, oh, I'm older, so I don't need to ask them for advice because they're younger than me. They don't need to know that. No, I went because I hate math. And if you're one of those people that hate math and you don't want to deal with money, numbers, and all those things, find someone reliable, right? Find someone who does this for a living. You can Google it. Now we have ChatGPT. There is no way someone is not going to tell me, in today's world where we have ChatGPT, AI, that they're not going to be able to learn about things. Put that contract in that in ChatGPT, but don't put all the sensitive information, please. But use it, analyze what you need to analyze. That was a good point, because there's a lot of companies that could match better. You put money in, they put money in, and you're making money, but they don't tell you those things. And I'm glad we having this conversation, because I'm hoping that this would bring this topic to mind for a lot of people. And when people see it, they will be able to think about these things
And do some research.
and do some research.
And I heard about college funds where parents, they put money very, very early for their kids when they're still babies, and they get to use those money themselves to do businesses, because those type of accounts, they give you high interest.
Oh yeah,
Higher
so
interest.
there are some accounts that you can create for your babies. I think they like whenever they're first, like, I think it could be a month old, and you create an account for them and you put money in. Yeah, it's good.
Good
Savings. Yeah, good savings account. There's also business account, right? You can do business loans and all those things. You just have to do your research. And I'm glad, like, you're learning about these things and you sharing, because a lot of people don't know this. Like, a lot of people don't know this, and it is difficult in our community.
And I believe most of us, we don't have that.
Yeah.
People want to learn about money. They want to invest. They just don't know where to start. And when they come to America, they just know, like, what do I do? What type of career? What am I good at? And we thought, like, if we actually have a space or a system where people can come and ask for help, like a mentorship, it would be very helpful.
I know you do some business, and sometimes when you introduce yourself, you leave this out, and I'm like, Madam, you're a businesswoman. You have a business that you do, and it actually makes sense that now that we're talking about money, right, to talk about business.
Yes.
And because you are beyond just, oh, I have a bachelor's degree in business, you actually you run your own business, and it's very inspiring, especially for, like, coming from one woman to another, to see someone, hustle, try to find multiple streams of income, right? So can you talk a little bit about your business?
Yes, absolutely. So currently, I have a business where it's more rentals for party supplies, chairs, table, decorations, and such things. That's what I started doing 2 years ago. But right now, I'm trying to move more into contracting, more of you have an event, you don't know where to start. You don't want to stress. You have the money. You just want everything to come. And I bring you all sort of things if you need a photographer, music, venues, everything taken care of. And that's what I'm currently working on.
We will definitely be keeping up with you and we will be following up with you on it. As soon as it is done, we will come back to you and we'll come back here and we'll talk about it whenever it's ready. We'll show people, we'll lead them to where they need for your services, right? But thank you so much for sharing that. It's good. You know that the last part I didn't know. So it was good to find this surprise, just like everybody else. But thank you so much, Christina. It's been a really good conversation. I feel like I could connect with our conversation a lot and this topic. And I know a lot of people in our African community are going to connect with this topic. And I hope that you feel comfortable sitting down and having this conversation because it is a sensitive conversation. It is a topic that a lot of people try to avoid, but it is something that's necessary, especially in today's world and this economy. We need to be able to talk about money. Find that friend, find that family member who can help you out. You can pay someone to put you on their credit so they can help you build your credit and help improve your credit, right? But just don't be stingy. Don't be that person that tries to take advantage of people or like what do you say? Bite the hand that's feeding you.
Yeah.
Don't be that person, but be open to talking about money. If you're struggling financially, have those conversations because that the only reason why we are able to be comfortable to talk about these things now is because we turned to somebody who helped us. We turned to somebody who gave us some information that was helpful and put us in a place where we can get comfortable with our money, right? Thank you so much for joining us. It's been great having you, and I can't wait for us to come back and give people update on your business. And everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in. This is I Am African podcast. I'm your host, Liz. Once again, use this as a conversation starter. Follow us and let us know what you think in the comments. We want to know what you think. If you have advice for people and you want to come and have conversation, let us know in the comments and also reach out to us. We'll be happy to be here with you. Thank you so much once again. I Am African Podcast. I'm your host, Liz, and we'll see you next time.